As we journey through life, we all encounter ebbs and flows, many highs and lows. We often come across stumbling blocks that leave us feeling quite disheartened or unsure about how to move back to the realm of possibility and positivity. No matter what we undergo, we all can embrace the journey, tap into the tools to push through and overcome, and find the beauty in the ashes. This is Odyssey with Yendi, Beauty in the Ashes.
Serika.
Hi, Yendi.
Serika is one of those women, for me, who just, you are the definition. When you look up ambition in the dictionary, see Serika here? Full of purpose, full of ambition, full of just so much, so multifaceted, so much going on. But there's something that drives that ambition that I feel like people would hardly expect in your journey.
Yes.
Where does that ambition come from?
It comes from my experiences.
Yeah.
I always believe that, people are a sum total of their experiences. Nobody's born, in my opinion, a particular way, but your experiences shape you, and how your experiences shape you, that's you.
Yeah.
It comes from you, and for me, I ensure that my experiences don't win.
Yeah.
So no matter how
strong.
So no matter how bad the experience is, my comeback is, you're not going to win. Okay, you're gonna happen. You're gonna go, and I'm going to get something out of this. You get what you got. You made me cry. You made me sad. You made me unhappy. No, I must find something in all of this that is going to, make me, go on. For good experiences, I live for those. And those are the things that really drive me from day to day, to ensure that in whatever I'm doing, that I'm coming out, learning something good from it, and turning it into something positive.
There we go. Thanks for watching. This has been another episode of Beauty in the Ashes. We're finished. But I think, Serika, you embody exactly what this show is. Beauty in the Ashes is exactly what you have done. You have found the beauty in the ashes. Your experience growing up is one that many of us in Jamaica see, experience, and live. You grew up in a household that wasn't very content.
No, not very content. So, and that was in my very, very young age. My mom and dad, they started having kids pretty early. And, in growing up, I think, when I speak about it now, it's going to have a lot more perspective to it, because being an adult and being a parent, and I see how hard life is, I kind of understand what was going on at that time. But in that moment, I didn't. So my mom and dad never had the best relationship. They were fighters. Right? So they weren't arguing, the nice uptown argue or the nice movie argue, the scream and slam the door. No, they were fighting.
Yeah.
They were throwing things, they were breaking furniture and all of that. And initially it was just happening, and we would just watch, and, we would cry, because we're like, we don't want mommy or daddy, and we don't want daddy or mommy. I love both my parents. My mom used to always play in my hair, and my dad, he had a sound system. So I used to remember him always, I used to sit on his lap and he would play music for me and everything. So I had fun memories with both of them. So whenever they fight, it used to just tear me apart, because I'm like, oh my God, one is going to kill the other. I'm going to lose them both. But I did lose them both. They didn't die, but I did lose them both. I remember one day I came home from school with my sisters. We grew up in the country, right? Okay, so
anything past Boulevard for me a country,
Okay,
so which country?
So that's what I'm saying. So for we country, not the regular country where town people talk about, right?
All right.
My country people call country.
All right.
Okay.
It deep country.
Yeah, man, country bad. So like, my husband always laugh at me, because when we're getting married and he saw my birth certificate, and the place of birth was Moko.
Oh, me know Moko.
He laugh after me.
Me go Moko.
Because he's like, who born a Moko?
You say, me.
Right, so it was really, really country. So, we grew up in a board house. My dad built it. 2 rooms, literally. So 1 room, all always sleeping. Mommy, daddy, and my 2 siblings. So it was 3 of us, 3 girls. The other room was the living room and kitchen and everything else. And of course, bathroom is outside.
Right.
But it was a nice little country yard, So I remember one day we came home from school and, you know, when I got to the gate, we saw like a whole bunch of people at the gate and a police car. And we were like, Lord Jesus, mommy and daddy are fight again. Because that's regular something. Police coming at the middle of the night, throw, you know, handcuff on her, put her in the car, then throw her back out of the car, and we not place a ball, things are break, you know. But that day it seemed different because there was a lot of people in there, there was police, and, you know, we kind of took the walk of shame. I remember it vividly. I mean, I was probably 6 to tell you the truth, but, you know, we came home from school and we walked through the gate, people parked the way. You know, when you watch a movie and people just park the way and just look by you.
Like slow motion.
Yes, and we walked inside and they weren't there. We just saw, you know, a towel and a shirt with blood. We saw, you know, broken furniture and broken plate and everything all over the place, and they weren't there. So the first thing that came to my mind was like somebody killed somebody, or the both of them dead, or we just never knew. So I can't even really tell you what happened after that, but my mom came back, but my dad didn't. So I figured he decided to leave. So there wasn't really any goodbye or anything. He just didn't come back. And my mom was there with us, and she was like, your father gone. You know, them parents said, and you know, her mouth never have no kind of, your papa gone left you, me alone, and, you know, whatever. And so we said, all right, adjust that. You know, I mean, I'm a kid. We're going to school. I'm 6, me in grade 1. You know, my other 2 sisters were like, the other one was 2 years older than me, and the other one was 3 years older than me. So we're really young kids. So we're there. And then on the weekend one day, regular thing for my mother to go to Mobay. Because I'm telling you, a country me live, so we have to go to Mobay. Yeah.
Go to the
city. Took like about 40 minutes to get there, or 45 minutes. That's all far, real country something. And she said she'll go Mobay, and we're like, all right, regular thing going in. And I remember I always used to want to go to Mobay with her. So every time she'll go, so how it used to work is that whenever she's going to Mobay, because a big thing, you know, she take one of us. Because a big something, because we are going to be, yeah, man, we are going to be put on with socks with the frill and everything. Yeah. So that day she didn't take any of us. And we're like, all right, she'll go by herself. And the thing is, she just didn't return. We were there in the house. Me and my sisters just eat bread and, I don't know, milk. You know, you see bread and tin milk?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, bread and tin milk and whatever. And playing in the yard, because she used to say we don't have to come out of the house, but we used to thief out of the house and play in the yard. Like, that's how strict she was. She knew we should stay in the house, not, our foot not to touch the grass. And we were just there, and then it started getting dark, and she not come. Night come down, and she not come. And we went, my big sister went to our neighbor and, you know, and told her that, you know, mommy did not come back. And, you know, she was like, you know, you guys can't sleep here by yourself, you're girls, you know. And she said, so at that time, you know, a country, so everybody in the neighborhood and your family.
Yeah,
but literally, yeah, so kids, it was like a long road, and which went nowhere. My grandmother by my father's side lived at the top, and then my grandma by my mother's side lived way, way further around. And I think that night they accommodated us. So we went to their house, and, you know, I honestly probably thought that tomorrow she would have come back, you know, or tomorrow him would have come back, or something. Something happened. I mean, them time they know Yendi, we not no phone. Nobody now calls, so maybe something happened. So we're thinking the worst. And we stayed by my father's grandmother and my other grandmother, and they did not come back. She did not come back.
And that was that?
You've
never seen her again
I
since?
have seen her again. She pop up back like, I don't know, a couple of years afterwards, you know, out of nowhere, and then she disappear again and she pop up back. So she just never came back to being my mother. Yeah, she's alive. I have other siblings. I think I have 4 other siblings by her afterwards, you know. So she basically moved on with her life, right? And my dad did too, because the next time I saw my dad, he came back with his, at the time, girlfriend. So he came back to visit with his girlfriend and his girlfriend's sister. Like, you know, I'm just visiting. And I'm like, I don't like you didn't leave. You don't like you did tell me, say, yeah, I got someone for come back. I just didn't see you.
So where did you guys go? Where did you and your sisters go?
So my sister, we used to just live between both our grandparents' house. And when I say live between, I mean literally live between. We, of course, as I said, they weren't rich. Nobody had money. They had a lot of kids. It was like a extended family household where you had sisters with them 2 children and everybody in the one house, you know. So it was already jam-packed. And we just, you know, we had to split up. So my big sister, she would stay with my my mother's grandmother, and myself and my other sister, we would stay by my father's grandmother. And when I say stay by, I mean literally sleep. Yes, literally just, you provide somewhere for you to sleep, and they provide food for you to eat. But the experience was, and again, I'm speaking with new perspective.
Of course.
At the time, I didn't feel like I was living with family. I feel like I was just living with people who felt like, your mama and your papa gone left you, and now you just come here now and we have to take care of you, and we don't even know where them there. Because I don't even think they knew where they were either. I don't think they had that conversation with them to say, guys, me I gonna leave, please take care. Because they just left us high and dry one day. You know what I mean? So I understand now, that subtle, feeling of resentment that we could identify as children, that we could see, and that we would hear, like probably from our cousins, just in the way they speak.
Yes.
You could tell that, these are things that they're hearing, and comments that people would say, like, your mom and your papa don't even want you, and stuff like that, So it was rough. But, and I mean, I grew up with them for some time, and honestly, I can't even tell you how long, because it just seemed like forever to me. And I remember my sisters used to say to us, like, we just huddle up, and my sisters would always say, we're not going to be children forever, and I think that's what kept us. We're like, one day we're going to grow up, one day we're going to get big, And even the other day, my sister, she reminded me, which is the second one, she said to me, Serika, I remember when you told me that I'm going to grow up and I'm going to get rich and I'm going to take care of you. And she said, you're still taking care of me right now, because not everybody come back from it. You know what I mean? I don't think my sisters came back from it. So it was a rough period. I mean, me talk about rough. Me talk about not really have no clothes. As a girl, you don't really have underwear. You don't have shoes to wear to school. So sometimes, we just go barefooted all over. We're just boxing about on the road, barefooted playing. And I mean, it's country, so we used to go bush. Got things off a people tree whenever not that we were in need, but that's just we're just Lego, Lego up on the road, just to do whatever it is that we want to do, and never really had any sense of, direction, nobody to tell you, this is what girls do, or, how to take care of yourself or anything like that,
You mentioned not having anybody to really guide you guys and steer you. Not that young men need any less guidance, but I feel like young women in particular need a lot of protection.
Yeah, protection is big.
And it's really hard to grow up without protection. And I know that, unfortunately, not having the type of armor around you that you would have needed in a solid base also caused significant impact, no?
Yes, it did. I mean, one is the loss of self-confidence, because if your parents are going to leave you without as much as saying why they're leaving, or anything at all, that takes away a lot from you. Because honestly, I'm not sure how my sisters felt, but for me, I felt unwanted. That's it, just unwanted, right? Nobody wanted me. Because they left, they didn't want me, and they were my parents. I mean, if your parents don't want you, then it's rough. And then now to be in a situation where you're living with your other relatives, like your grandparents and your aunties and uncles, and they too kind of 100%. And as I said to you, like today, I understand where they were coming from, because I put myself in their shoe and I say, if my sister carry her kids them come on me out and leave them and say she soon come back and don't come back, me I go upset. But knowing what I know now, I know that I wouldn't have treated them any different. But I don't know that those people knew that at the time. They had their own issues. So a while after my dad came back, as I told you, my dad came back, right?
Yeah.
And with his girlfriend at the time, who afterwards became my stepmother. Wonderful lady. And I remember he came and somebody come call me. I was somewhere probably in the bush, a thief people go over. And they say, your father come and my God, take off,
Excitement.
Yes, because my father come, I mean, when you're a kid, no matter how your parents, no matter what your parents do to you, once them come, you're gone.
Yes, ma'am.
And I went and I saw him and I saw the lady and, they were talking to me and everything. And then him get up to leave. And I'm like, me say I leave because me if he say I come back now. Yes. And I remember he was leaving, and then I don't even remember if they had driven at the time. But one piece of cow ball in me depend. Cause me start ball now, come here and say, you go leave again. You go back in the same thing. I have no lotion, I have soap, I have deodorant, I have underwear, I don't really have clothes like that. I have nobody for comb my hair. I don't have anybody like my mother used to comb my hair and play in my hair. Nobody not playing in my hair anymore and combing my hair. I'm not feeling any love. You know what I mean? My sisters need love, me need love. We just not getting it. We just up and roll up and down. When night come, we go eat little food and go to bed. That was it, So I start ball, carry on good ball, and I run him down, I run down the car, down the road, because I'm like, no, daddy no left me. And, them stop and say, they left. They did leave, Him say would have come back, but he left. And I don't really even know how that day ended, but I probably just bore myself to sleep, because it was just a blur after that. But then they did come back. They came back, I think, in the summer, and they said, okay, they want to take me to stay with them for the summer holidays. And that was how I left country. And I left my sisters there. And I was kind of sad because I wanted them to come with me. Well, I left to go on holiday, but then my husband said I can't go back. Every time them say, okay, time for go back, I have to go to school, I start ball, And they say, okay, they'll keep me. And that's when we moved to Mobay, to Green Pond. This is what you call that, farmer. And I went to farmer age. So I started living with my step parents, and then my stepmom and my dad. They got married a little bit after that. Then come my mother, my real mother now. I don't know if she probably go country, go find out some gone. And then she found out where we lived, and she came to the house and she took me away.
What?
She came to the house, took me away. And I remember when she came and took me away. Because when she came, at the time I didn't like her. I didn't like her. That. I was okay with my dad. I don't know why. Because
probably because that now equal a bit of stability to you.
Yeah.
Right?
At that time. Yeah. And I think now I have a different perspective again. Right. Like I'm always constantly looking back at things. Before I thought that daddy left because they couldn't live in the house together. Mm-hmm. So he left. But then he left her in a house with her children that she didn't have to pay rent with, that they own. And she decided to leave. So for her, I was more angry with her. Because you didn't have to leave. Of course, I don't understand what she was going through at the time. Emotionally, mentally, financially, I don't know what would have driven her there. But at the time, as a child, I resented her. I didn't like her. And I didn't like her for most of my life, And she came and she took me away. And then she had to take me back. Because I refused to eat. I refused to do anything. I refused to talk to her. And then she had to take me back. But then that no was another craziness, because then she started saying that my father wasn't my father.
Wow.
Yeah, man. She's like, you want to go to this man and not TV your father? And I'm like, them time I'm probably about 8 now or so, Yeah, heavy that down for me.
So
You know what I mean?
Mental abuse.
Crazy.
Because it's completely toxic.
So now, my worst feel like me and nobody pick me, no belong anymore, because here's this man that I thought was my dad, and I'm comfortable living there with him and his stepwife and his stepwife family because he's my dad. For now, my real mother tell me, say, no, your father. So I'm like, I'm living with strangers. No. But at the time, I was like, I don't care. Me no business. I'm a father, I want to go back to my father. And she took me back. And when I went back, I told daddy, and my daddy was like, she brought me back. I don't even remember how it went. If she bring me back or my father come figure out where we were and come for me. Some faraway place. And I remember when she was, when my father came for me and she was giving me to my father, and she said, yeah, go along with your jacket. She's like, yeah, fight over something and I not feel. Go along with your jacket. And I was, them time I'm not even you may not even think about it that way, but I just knew that I wanted to be with him. Because I felt like my mother, as I say, I resented her for leaving, and I didn't think that she had, and I was 8, At 8, I process all of this. I'm like, at 8, I don't want
You can't actually even process it.
Yeah, So I went to live with my dad, and I remember my father said to me, and it's the one thing that I always remember, that him saying, I love him to death. And the opportunity came for me to do paternity test, and I'm like, I don't care, who this real father is, or even if, for me, I really think my mom was lying. But in any event, I really don't care. He is my father. And remember, my father said, turn around and said to her, say, jacket stronger than shot.
Woo! Woo! Wow.
And I left with him and I lived with him. I lived with him and my stepmom for,
Wow.
and that was a turning point in my life. This is every time you turn the corner. And this was a turning point. I love my stepmom. I love my step family. But that turning point turned out to be the best and the worst again. You know what I mean? It was the best because I was, in a home where I feel like I was loved by my step parents and they treated me nothing short of their own, like blood. You know what I mean? But again, I had to go through another traumatic experience in that setting, which was, I don't even know. Oh, I don't even know. It wasn't their fault, but it was just another space where I had to go through something traumatic, which wasn't good, So I lived with my step parents and going to school, and I already was suffering from, probably low self-esteem. I didn't know what to call it at the time, but at the time I just felt like I was just a regular, old country girl with nobody no wants, and you go to school and you try to fit in with everybody and you can't fit in because you don't have the things that they have, you don't have the life that they have. You grow up in a, you don't have fun memories of all these, things with your mom and your dad, and so you just try to fit in, you just try to go day by day. But I was just like in a bubble living. But I was a very happy little girl. I used to love to read. I used to have a tree in the yard. I used to climb in it and I used to just read anything. I used to.
That was a good escape for you.
Always get into trouble too. Like I used to. I remember one time I used to get beaten every day.
What?
Because every day I do something I'm not supposed to do, and like I can't figure out why I'm not to do it. Like random things, like probably being rude to the teacher, like breaking something, like doing things that I'm not supposed to do. So I was pretty rude, I don't know if it was a result of my upbringing or anything. I can't say.
Maybe attention seeking as well.
Yeah, maybe just rude. Kick off my shoes bottom, me figure class, me go and play dandy shandy, and that was just rude, But so we're doing well, and then I passed my exam to go to a high school, and that's a whole other story. That's for our next show. And I was 11 at the time. And we were living in like a, I don't remember, like, it was a family now. I learned that in a school now, but it was just like a mix with aunt, uncle, blended family and their children and everything. And we were living in a yard with different people in the yard, so we weren't living in a home by ourselves, different people in the yard. And I got raped by somebody in that space, somebody that we knew, somebody who my parents would trust to leave me with during the days. And I was 11 at the time that it happened, and I didn't even know what happened when it happened. I really didn't know. I didn't even understand it, because the funny thing is, this is somebody who I looked up to as a father figure. Somebody who used to scold me and tell me that don't do this and don't do that, and hear your mother say you must do this and whatever. So to me, he was just like a regular uncle, regular father figure. And my parents had no problem leaving me with him. So when they would go to work, I would come home from school in the evenings and I would just stay with him. Not stay with him, but him in the yard. That's how it used to work with those blended family, extended family. Anybody there, the yard, you just go home and stay with him. And when it happened, it was horrible. I was confused, and that was another turning point, a negative turning point in my life.
Once is too many times, but did it happen more than once?
Yes, it did. It didn't happen a lot of times, but it happened more than once. And I think that is the part that really, really affected me, because for me, before I even said it to my parents, I was trying to figure it out.
What is this thing?
Like, what is this? What is going on? Why is he doing it? What am I doing? What I mean? What am I doing to cause it? And all of those things. And, you're afraid. You're 11. Like, I look at my 11-year-old and I'm like, I was between 10 and 11. And I'm like, but he cannot protect himself. You know what I mean? So at the time, I'll tell you how my parents found out. I'm there struggling with it. I'm in 7th grade. and they couldn't understand why I wasn't doing well in school. So I started out good. I started out really, really good, and then just things just started dropping off in terms of my grades. And they're like, they would cuss and be like, why you not do it? What you are doing? Like, follow up company, or this and that and whatever. And I'm sitting there like, boy, I don't even know what I go on, And I remember, and after she found out, she said she distinctly remember me telling her I didn't want to stay there with him, but they just thought that,
You're just being a
but just
moody
want,
11-year-old.
or they would always come and find me outside of the house. So even though they leave me there with him and say stay there, like when they come home, I'm outside of the house, like I'm in the yard or I'm out on the road or something, and they would cuss and whatever, but they just didn't understand why, and the thing about it is that those people, they don't give you any indication.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't think my family would have ever thought about it.
Right.
Because the way he treated me like I was his child. Like he would say, why are you doing that? Sit over there, help do this, and,
So criminal.
almost as if he's protective, or, you know what I mean?
So criminal.
So what happened now, it was summer and I was at home, and, I didn't even realize that I wasn't, I wasn't feeling well, and my mom said, okay, I have to take you to the doctor. And they took me to the doctor, and the doctor said, is she sexually active? And they said, no, she isn't. And they were like, the doctor's like, she's sexually active. And my mom was like, Serika is sexually active? And I'm like, no, because it's the first thing that come to my mind. And then she's like, the doctor's like, okay. I don't remember if he left the room or he asked my family to leave the room so that he could talk to me. And then he said, or it was a she, I really can't remember, because, all of this I go on now, I'm ready for dead.
Of course.
And, he's like, what happened, And, he said, did somebody have sex with you? And I shake my head. And he's like, who? And they started, try and call names, and I was like, no. And then I said it, and like, it's almost like the air got sucked out of the room, because everybody was just extremely shocked. But the good thing about it is that they all believed me. I've heard stories where when you tell them, and that I think was one of the part that I was scared about, because I was like, are they going to believe me? Are they going to say it's my fault? What's going to happen? You know what I mean? I was worried about, just everything. So it was a relief when they didn't even question it. They didn't even say, are you sure? They just be like, they were just floored. And they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this was happening to you. And, what was happening, I had to do surgery. So I had to be hospitalized. And this was close to when school was supposed to be open. So it was a big thing in my family, and they decided to keep it quiet. I suspect because they just didn't want the shame, and you're living in a neighborhood with a whole bunch of people, and, you're 11 years old and you don't want everybody looking down on your child.
And it's so funny that you said that, because sadly, even today,
it's still happening, I'm sure.
When an 11-year-old plays no part in a rape, but still today, people hardly hold the man accountable and make haste for say the little girl fast.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why my family decided not to go
Say
public,
anything.
not to, involve the police,
Because
then we would have to deal with
Society is unkind.
You're going to have to deal with it at school, you're going to have to deal with it in the neighborhood, everybody going looking at you, trying to psychoanalyze you, questions like, so why she never say anything when it happened the first time? She didn't want it. And so them little girl are forced right, and
Actually,
I think,
Serika, let's talk about that, please. Let's talk about that, because I am positive there is a young woman who's watching this now. I am 100% certain. She may even be sitting in front of you. Who does not want to say that they have that type of experience because of the shame that they feel, what do you say to that person?
Well, I say this. Yendi, it took me many years. And one of the things that I want to touch on was that this idea about keeping it quiet, though I understand that you're trying to protect the individual, it's not good. It messes a kid up emotionally and mentally, right? And if that kid is not resilient, it will break them. It definitely will break them, right? For me, Yendi, when it happened, let me give you the story. I was hospitalized, and it so happened that it was close to school. So I had to be admitted to hospital. I had to do surgery. I had to be in there for a while. And then when I went back to school, they had given away my space because it was always far in the semester because my parents couldn't tell the school that I got raped. They just had to keep it quiet. And then I just pop up at school right after the surgery. And then, the school gave away my space and they're like, we didn't know you were coming back, and I was like, yes, I'm coming back. And I had to deal with that in school by myself. There was no therapy. There was nobody to talk to. It was not spoken of. I don't even think my family knew how to talk to me or what to say or if they should say anything. But it killed me. I couldn't focus in school. Right now, when people ask me about high school, my husband asks me about high school, or people are talking about high school, ask them. My answer is high school was a blur. I don't remember being in class. I don't remember learning much. I remember my friends and my teacher used to always say, Serika, why are you always daydreaming? And I'm like, boy, in my head, I'm like, I'm not daydreaming. I'm just replaying my situation in my head over and over and over again, trying to figure out what could I have done differently? What could I have said? Should I have fought? Should I have, said something earlier? Is it something that I did why he thought he could do it? Was it my behavior? Am I too friendly? Am I too jovial? Do I smile too much? I was just like psychoanalyzing everything about me. And then I was like, maybe these things just happen to people who people don't want. So it go right back to like, okay, Serika, I mean, your parents left you, you didn't have a good upbringing. These things just happen to people like you. People like you just get raped. People like you, parents just leave them. People like you just not going to have a good life. That's just what happened to people like you. And I mean, it troubled me for years mentally so much that that's why I used to daydream, because the thoughts are running through my head and I always have to be fighting with those thoughts to try to drown it out with something else. So the teacher is talking and I'm seeing her and I ain't hearing nothing that she's saying. My friends are talking, I don't hear nothing what them say. But as I think, well, the situation is in the back of my head and I'm trying to think about something else to block that situation. You know what I mean? Totally. And not only block that situation, but then I started blaming myself. I started thinking that it was your fault, because you should have said something. Because
I don't know if anybody has ever said it to you, but I am going to look you in the eyes and tell you it had nothing to do with you.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, I
not your
figured,
fault.
and that's
Not your fault.
That's
none of it. Your parents,
Yeah.
the mental abuse, the toxicity, the physical abuse, the sexual abuse, none of it.
I know that now, and it's a long journey. You can't say that to somebody and they believe you.
Yeah.
It is something that you come to terms with.
How do you do that?
So for me, what I found is that, I floated through high school, didn't even know what happened, barely scraped through with 5 subjects, 4 3s and 1 2. And, I remember when I was about 17 or so, I don't know, somebody that asked me the question, or I said to myself, who am I? It got so bad, Yendi, that I thought that I had a mental illness. I thought that there was something wrong with me, because you would be sitting here talking to me and I would be counting your words rather than listening to you. So most of the times you're talking, like, people would be like, Serika, you always zone out, because you'd be talking to me and I'm just counting your words. 1, 2, because you're talking to me and I'm still in my head. I'm watching the TV and I'm still in my head. It's a heady thing. It's a heavy, heavy, heavy burden to carry. So that's why I couldn't function in high school, and I didn't know what I was searching for. I didn't know what I wanted to see. I didn't know how I was going to overcome it. I wasn't even sure what question I would be asking myself. I was just in this situation that I was just existing in the world. And one thing that I was very grateful for was that I had one person who saw me. And that's why for me, whenever I deal with people, I make sure they know that I see them because I know how important it is. I remember when I finished 7th grade, because remember this is after the bad experience now, and I did horrible in my exams, that I got demoted, to a lower class. And I went to school and I was just sitting there and watching, and that's just always me. I'm always at the back of the room just watching everybody else because I just thought that everybody else had such a wonderful life and I just have this horrible life and nobody was raped, and look at them, they're just happy and everything, and I'm just this bastard child sitting in the back of the room that your mother run left and your father did run left and then somebody have to rape. That's just your lot. And I just was sitting in the back of the class, the teacher was teaching, and then another teacher came to the door that she taught me before. And then the teacher said to me, Serika, take up your bag and go to her name is Miss Reed. And I went outside and she took me in the hallway and she said, Serika, I don't know what's wrong, but I know this is not you. She said, I don't know you very long. I taught you in 7th grade, but you're not the girl that I met when you started school. And the fact that you did so bad in your exam, that is not you. You're smart. You're smarter than that. And I don't know what is wrong, but I'm going to put you back in your class because I know this is going to have a bad impact on you. And she said, I already talked to the principal. You can go back to your class. So, because that was just another blow in the whole situation. Like, you're done too.
Yeah.
Your parents leave you, get raped, you're done. And that was just like, all right, this is it. So for her, like, when she said that, I thought to myself, boy, this is probably the first person who saw me. Nobody else saw it. My parents didn't see that there was something wrong. My aunt didn't see that there was something wrong. Nobody in the yard saw that something was wrong. Nobody in the community saw that something was wrong. But here's this one teacher who sees me, probably 2 hours for the week, 2 to 3 hours for the week. And she could see that something was wrong. So I was like, at that point, I was saying to myself, so I'm not invisible. I'm not invisible. Somebody's seeing me. Somebody's seeing the hurt. And at the time, I couldn't talk to her about it. It was a big secret. So I just went back to my class. But I wish I could say that at that point I was healed. No, I had a horrible high school. Just didn't learn anything. I was just, floating through. It was just not good. Even one of my exams I did and I didn't get the grade because they said they didn't get my paper. And I was like, it's okay. I don't even want to fight it because that's just what happened to me. I'm just a bad lucky person. I just not to have 6 subjects, Well,
what's funny is I hear all of what you're saying and I hear you mention the CXCs and the doing poorly and the floating by. But you are Serika, who is sitting in front of me, who I came to know at KPMG, where you are an accountant. You are now my accountant. You are also pursuing a law degree. How does Serika go from that Serika in high school, where you left school, where you were, to this Serika who not only accomplishes or has accomplished so much professionally, but runs a foundation, is a lovely mommy, a beautiful mommy. It only takes about 5 seconds of an interaction to know, say, you're good up, and a lovely wife. How does the healing happen? How do you get to where you are?
So what I did was a lot of soul searching, because when I was 17 years old, I realized that I didn't know who I was. Yeah. I was bits and pieces of people that I came in contact with that, I thought had a good life, and I just took on their experience. So I would speak like one of my friends, I would probably joke like somebody else, I would act like this and that. And one day I said to myself, who are you? Why do you crack jokes? Do you really like to read? do you really like to dance? Do you really like this? And I realized that a lot of the questions that I asked myself, I couldn't answer because they were always connected to someone else who I probably looked up to or yearned to be like. So I set out on a path when I was between 17 and 18 to find myself, to figure out what I like and to be okay with me being me, you know, because I've come this far. I'm 18 years old. I've learned a little bit about life. I've heard about other people's experience in terms of being raped and molested and, you know, people who come back from these experiences. So therefore, it's not all gone. So there's something that I can get out of this. I don't have to go down that road where I'm heading. So I started making the decision to see myself, and I started getting a little bit. I've always had to go to church. It was always like a thing, even with my parents not going to church, you know. But I don't think I ever really believed it, because I'm like, well, if so what God son up there I do. Him really son up there, so I make all of them something here. Then clearly me no know, me no can't bother. But then I started understanding the importance of having something to hold on to. And that something does not need to be big. So a lot of the times I think we feel like we have to have, you know, positive past experience to hold on to be able to go forward, right? Just the hope for tomorrow is enough to go forward.
A word.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And just one person believing in you. So I used to always think about Mrs. Reed.
Yes.
Always come back to her. I was like, but that one lady saw me. Whenever it get dark, I'm like, but that one lady saw me and she dragged me back out of that class. That means to say somebody else probably see me, but them not reach yet.
Yes.
You know, so I just took it one day at a time, and I started realizing that I started coming into my own, you know, understanding myself. I started, you know, getting a little bit more comfortable with my experiences. I didn't get over them.
Of course.
I probably are not 100% over them, because, you know, people will say that you're over your experiences when you forgive your attacker or whatever, but I haven't. So maybe I'm not 100%, but I'm at a place where I can definitely function at a high level. So one of the biggest turning points in my life, I can say, was my husband. Before my husband, I met my husband when I was 21, thereabout. And I was
So you've known him for about 4 years? Because you're 25 now, right?
Shut up. I like you. Oh. You're my type of people.
You know this.
Yeah, so I mean, I met him when I was 21, and he just amazed me at the level of confidence that he had in me. I was floored. I was like, really? No, listen, I'm not a regular man, right? So this was a man that, you know, having masters, have a very good job, you know, in Kingston. Random, and he saw me. He saw me. I remember when we went on our first date, you know, it was so weird. I'll tell you how we met. He came to church, and I saw him, and I had some tickets to sell. And I said, you know, when new people come to church, I always want to buy tickets. Yeah. So I said, see me free ticket then now, so me one sale there. So I went to him and I said, you want one ticket for buy for come so and so? And he's like, no, but, you know, he's like, you know, I live in Kingston because I work in Kingston. He was working in Kingston at the time. You know, so I probably won't be able to make it, but, you know, you can give me an email address and you can tell me about it. I'm like, what? My email address?
To tell you about
this? At 2003, sir. You know, some people have phone, but all right, send me email here, you know. And me don't know what joke me one day. I emailed him, and then we started talking, and you know, him come down from Kingston, and then we said we are go out, and you know, I was just asking him. I said, so you know, how you end up seeing me? Because I remember one day, you know, I randomly saw you and you were staring at me. He said to me, he said, Serika, you're the reason why I come down on weekends from Kingston to go to church. I'm like, what? He's like, yes. He said, the first time I saw you, and he probably gonna kill me if he said this, but he said, the first time I saw you, you were walking down the aisle from, you know, at the side, and I saw you and you were like head and shoulders above everyone else. And then, you know, when you start to want like a halo, and you hear people say, and you hear soft music in the background, yeah, that's what was happening to me. Because I said, watch you come down, and I said, she nice,
look for my wife.
Yeah. And then, you know, his nephew go to the same church. So him say, you remember like quizzing himself like, oh, she have a boyfriend and stuff. And him cousin said, boy, you know, him don't know him, I go check it out and things. So he used to just come down just to see me, but him never know what he said to me. So he was very happy that day when I came over to him
To offer
to
the
offer him to
tickets.
sell him a ticket, because now is his chance to talk to me, because him said it was one other time that I spoke to him and he didn't even think I saw him. I just walked by and I just said hi, just like I always be like, hi, morning, you know. And long story short, you know, he was just one of those persons who I said spoke so much positivity over me. You know, we would be talking and he's like, yo, you know, you're very smart. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I have 5, 6 here and 4 of them are 3. I'm not smart. You know, and the people who I talk to, the people who I interact with, they don't think I'm smart. They always joke at how I talk and what I say, and they always think that I'm silly. And he's like, you are one of the smartest persons that I've ever spoken to. You're young, you're intelligent, like I can talk to you for hours. And I'm like, but this is a master's man here with the masters from a foreign university. What wrong with him? You know? So we started talking and I
Girl,
started
book smart is
realize-
one thing, but him see his spirit.
Yes.
Yes.
So he saw more, and I was like, no, this is the second person other than Mrs. Reed
Who saw you?
who saw me. And I was like, you know, this man is a good man.
But isn't it funny as well? Look at life. I don't know why, but it just rested on my spirit that the two people that, in essence, almost validated you, one was an older female figure, and the other was a man, and you've been betrayed by men. Isn't that something that...
It's funny.
Look at how... You see, God really is something else, eh?
I think it's
because
him.
you could have a negative perception of men and just hold on to that. But when here comes this person who is charming, kind,
Yes.
educated, and is just pouring into you, and you're just like, wow.
What I had a negative, I had lost faith in just men in general. Just, you know, just the way people think.
Understandably.
But what I had lost faith in was love.
Yes.
So I always say to my husband, I say, I never thought that I would have found someone who actually loved me. You know, because he would say how much he loved me. And I'm like, I remember one time he used to say I love you. I'm like, really? And he's like, what? What is wrong with you? I didn't even know why I would say that, because I just never thought that I would find someone who genuinely just loved me and them not looking anything, and they see me and they think that I'm valuable and they think that I'm smart and they think the world of me, you know? And at the time, I appreciate it more now than I did when we were dating, but it did kind of influence who I become and how I changed myself, because I remember one time we were talking, and I think it was probably the first time I shared certain private experiences with him. And he said to me, he said, Serika, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And when he said that, I was like, whoa. Because all along, I just thought that everything that was happening to me because I just saw my life figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was just sitting around waiting for the next bad experience, because that's my life. That bad experience was going to come. That's just me. But when he said that, and he said it more than once, he said, Serika, do you understand what I'm saying? It's not how you start. Your life starts out rough, but you can be great. You're smart. I see it in you, you know? And I was like, whoa. So it ended up that we only dated for 6 months before we got married.
Look at that.
Because I was like, all right, see, now we're done. Pack up everything. Yeah.
He said,
know?
this is my wife. Girl, that halo. That halo
Yeah,
he
man.
saw,
Yeah. It was like a
he's
married
like, this
something.
is my wife. Yeah.
So, I mean, still then I wasn't fully healed.
Of course.
So we got through our thing, and I'm telling you, Yendi, the person that is sitting in front of you today, and that's why we start from so far, is a sum total of every single experience. You can see how vividly I remember all of them, because every so often I sit and I reflect on them, and then I look at me today, and that's why I do what I do, right? That is why I do what I do. That is why I treat people the way I treat them. Because when I meet you, I want you to know that I see you. Yes. Because I don't know, you may not share your experience with me, but you may just be sitting there waiting for somebody to see you to make that change. Yes. You know, and I want you to know that I see you. And I want you to know that there's greatness in you. I want you to look at me, and I want you. So whenever I meet people and they're talking to me and they're like, oh, you own your own business, the first thing I say to them is that I graduated high school with 5 CXC, and 4 of them was 3. And you see that first class honors that I got at University of the West Indies.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. The
Oh
what?
Lord, yes, first class honors.
From
But that's
where?
not the biggest part at UWE.
Oh, okay.
I say, you see that first class honors part that you see on the wall? I had to beg UWE for that space. I had to literally sit in the admissions office for an entire day to speak to the head of admissions because they did not accept me in UWE because them said my grade never good. Right? And that, because I did 2 A-levels, literally 2 A-levels, and the grade them never too hot. So I didn't get accepted, and I was at home with my first son now, he's 14. He was 8 months old, and I'm like, but my husband said me smart. And my husband says that it's not how me start, it's how me finish. And he insisted that I go to university. Me do my 2 A-levels, and I say, yeah, mom, I go look at work. He's like, no, you're not. You're going to university. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to still look at work. He says, no, you're going to go to university, but alone. You know, and he's like, and he said to me, Serika, I want you to enjoy your experience. And I'm like, you don't know how much that does for a person. Because to me, he's saying to me, you're worth the university experience.
Yes.
You know, and before I just think that, yeah, you're just somebody who go to school part-time, go work and go school in the night. That's my lot. Because I'm not supposed to go to university.
It's not your lot.
Yeah.
You know why it's not your lot? Tell me why it's not your lot. Tell me why it's not your
It's
lot.
not how you start, it's how you finish.
I say I love when people smart, you see, man. Love when people
So,
smart.
you know, I went and I begged the space and the lady said, Miss, you know, listen, it's October. And I said, Miss, you know, I understand, I forgot school. Because my husband says I'm going to go to university. He's going to pay for it. And he's the only one paying for everything right now because I don't have no work. And I need to go to school so that I can finish in 3 years. In 3 years, my son will be 3 and he needs to go to preschool, but he won't be able to go to the preschool that I want him to go to if I don't have a job. And I'm not going to have that job if I don't start university this term because we need to finish 3 years. If I go next year, I go 4 years and then I go 4 and it go worse.
How old was your son when you graduated with your first class honors?
Yes, he was 3 going on 4.
Look at that.
4. Yeah, 4. Yeah, he was 4 and he was at my graduation and I wanted to... When I went to school, when I started school again, I was still feeling like, you know, I just got to try a thing. I'm going to university, I'm going to try to get my degree. I never thought about doing well because I am not someone who do well. I am not smart. You know, I get 3s, I get 2s, you know. People who get 3 and 2 and fail sexy because I failed some, you know, I never 5 middle, I failed the rest. You know, they don't get first class honors, they don't scrape through university. So I was like, well, I'm going to scrape through.
But it shows you that you weren't anywhere near meeting your potential.
I just wanted my son to have somebody to look to say that I am worth it.
Yes.
You know, I felt like I never had that and I wanted to give it to him. I want him to be able to look at his mom and be like, my mom is great. I can be great and then be great. So when I went to school, Yendi, my work, morning time, I'll drop my husband at work because he teach me to drive too. He's just like the best man ever. He taught me to drive and he gave me the car and he said, I took him to work and I took my son to school and I went to school and then I started doing well and I shocked myself when I finished school with first class honors. You know what I mean? And I came out and I said, Stefan, this is for you. You know, at the end of it, I said, Stefan, I worked my ass off because you believed in me. You insisted that I go to university. You paid for it out of your pocket and I couldn't. I wanted you to be proud. I wanted at the end of it all, you say yes. I knew she was great. She is great and I made the right choice and I didn't waste my money.
When you look in the mirror right now, what do you look in your own eyes and say to the little girl that still lives in you?
That little girl, you know, when I look at myself in the mirror and I see that little girl, I appreciate her more because I realize that little girl is very strong. I didn't know it at the time. But when I hear about other people's experience and things that break other people, I'm like, Serika, you know, so you're tough. Because to go through that at 11 and to go through all of that emotional stress, you know, all through your teenage years and still fight back, you know, you're great. You know, greatness is in you and you're going to go out there and you're going to do it every day. You're going to be great every day. So I set a standard for myself. I don't have to like what I do. I don't have to be passionate about what I do. But anything that I'm doing is going to get 100% of me. Why? Because greatness is in me. So whether it's an accounting degree, a law degree, a foundation, or I'm just helping you something, I'm going to give 100%. And that's why, people probably will see me now and then be like, yeah, man, she own her business and she always out there. But it's because of my experiences. And every year I look back at them and I'm like, you got raped, your parents leave you, all of this happened to you, but look at you today. It means that greatness doesn't come from your experience. It comes from you, what you build of it, And I tell myself that no experience is going to break me, none. And they're not going to win. I'm going to ball, I'm going to pop down for a little bit, but I feel like if I allow it to change the course of my life in a negative way, that's allowing the experience to win. And I can't, because it's not supposed to win. I'm supposed to win at all times. So that's why, a lot of people see me now and they'll be like, I can't believe you went through that with your triplets and you're still here. Yendi, I remember when I was going up to that hospital one night, we done ball because my baby died. And I walked in the parking lot and I said to myself, I feel popped down, I feel disheartened, I feel like I'm going dead. I said to myself, say, you know what? You're not going to win. You are not going to win. I said, God, if all three of them dead, the situation is still not going to win. That's how I got through that situation. Because I look back at everything that I've gone through. And I say, Serika, your Job moment this. Again, another Job moment. And I said, God, boy, I wish you never think so. I said, God, you think highly of me. Because you really think me strong. But me feel like I'm dead one of them day here. You know what I mean? So, that's the thing, that's the kind of energy that I try to bring to everything. Every situation, whether it be in my business or, my personal life. I'm just like, this situation is not going to win. It's not going to win me. I'm going to overcome it. I'm going to be happy at some point because I did it already and I can do it again.
And you will continue to do it again and again and again. I forgot come talk to you correct when I call you and I said, hi, is this Serika Sterling, CPA, LLB, MSMOG, LMNOP, XYZ?
I know, right? One bag of alphabet.
You're so impressive. Serika, we have, and I feel like we've only touched the tip of the iceberg. Just the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. But thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. You are... I don't even think you know, but this has been supremely profound, and I am positive, and I can say with certainty, everyone who watches this will not leave the same. And I thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I really hope so, because I really struggled with what I was going to share with you today for quite some time. I had to seek counsel with my husband. I've always, like, whenever I do interviews, it was always about the Preemie Foundation, about the business, and I was comfortable with that because nobody ever asked about me, and it was fine because I didn't even really want to talk about my experience, giving birth. I just wanted to focus on the foundation. So when you called me and you're like, I want to interview you, you notice I said to you, like, you sure you want me on your show?
But you know why I wanted to interview you?
Why?
Because I see you.
Oh, look at that. Number 3. Yeah, so I mean, I'm happy that you give us this platform to share and to share with other persons. And I really do hope that what I've shared today, which a lot of people, I think my family is going to be surprised. A lot of my friends will be surprised because this is not something that I've shared with. I can probably count on one hand how many persons know about these things. But I said to myself, if I'm going to be given this platform to share, and if I'm going to be, living what, the kind of way that I want to live, and, how I want to impact people, and how I want other persons to feel, who have experienced something like this, I must share it, regardless of how difficult it is, and I really hope that, somebody who is watching who may have gone through similar experience, or may not even have gone through similar experience, but in a position right now where they feel like, they're desperate, or they're or their life isn't going anywhere, that there is worse out there, or that even if there's worse, you can overcome, because here's somebody who came from zero, and right now a lot of people is probably looking at her and saying, oh, I'm inspired. And you can be that inspiration. You can be great. It's not about where you start, it's about how you finish.